certainly shows you how important these statements are.
Okay. So what would it take to get you on board with supporting some sort of overhaul of border policy? I know that in the Senate, they're talking about trying to bundle together some of these initiatives.
Well, I think they should be bordered together, and I've been at the White House several times talking about what we call sort of the Quad national security package, where they're looking at Ukraine, Taiwan, East Asia, but border has to be a part of it, and not just funding for the border. It needs to be policy changes. Our border needs to be secure. The FBI director has specifically cited that individuals come across that border allied with international terrorist organizations are a threat internal to the United States.
So Congress went home for the next few weeks, and you got a lot of work to do before the end of the year. One of those things potentially is reauthorizing Section 702, which allows agencies to gather data like phone calls and text messages from foreign nationals abroad. Some of your Republican colleagues, like Jim Jordan and Matt Gaetz, have said they don't like Section 702. Is the Republican-controlled House going to reauthorize this, and when?
Absolutely. The problem is that there's a bunch of misinformation out there. What you just said is absolutely correct. That 702 allows the collection of foreigners outside the United States who pose a national security threat to the United States. We have to continue to collect that data and information. It's from which we are able to keep our country secure. And certainly in that, we also capture those inside the United States, like those terrorists who've come across the southern border that the FBI talks about as being a threat here, their communications outside the United States with those terrorist groups and organizations, so we can track them down and prevent those attacks. This is absolutely essential. This is our post 9/11 structure. As our national security threat increases, we have to make certain that we maintain the tools that have kept us safe.
And just to clarify here, I know that Border Patrol has said there are people who've come across the border whose names match the terror watch list, but that doesn't necessarily represent a terrorist or a suspected terrorist, just for anyone who's concerned there.
But the FBI director has specifically said that there are individuals that are allied with international terrorist organizations who have come across the border that pose a threat.
Yeah.
That's the part of what his last 2 weeks of public statements have been.
I want to ask you about classified documents because CBS has been reporting that Special Counsel Robert Hur is near the end of his investigation into President Biden and his alleged mishandling of classified info. If there are indeed no charges brought, which is what we are reporting, what do you think the signal will be to the national security world?
Well, this will be certainly devastating, continuing to be devastating to the Department of Justice and to the Biden administration with their two-tier system of justice. Biden has been found to be a serial classified document hoarder over a 10-year period. He's been taking classified documents, some of the most sensitive that threaten our national security, home without any protection, and certainly, able for others to be able to access them. There needs to be consequences. The fact that Hillary Clinton, who had over 100 classified documents at home when she was Secretary of State, and Vice President Biden, both under Obama at the same time, were taking classified documents home and certainly had them be vulnerable with no consequences, shows the Department of Justice is not pursuing Democrats.
Well, as you know, there is a difference with the case against President Trump, who refused to hand over documents fully and violated the Espionage Act. That's the charge against him, because he didn't work with the government to hand those over.
Biden had these documents for over 10 years. You can't hoard documents in your home for a decade-long period, concealing them, taking them home as a senator and vice president, and then suddenly say, hey, 2 weeks while I was president, I cooperated, and therefore, it doesn't count that I spent 10 years as a serial classified document hoarder.
All right. Well, we're going to have to leave it there for today.